everybody. I'm Marian Waldman with Teach My Kid to Read, and I am thrilled to introduce you to Mandy Babirad and Kerri Carpenter today. And Mandy Babirad is the children's librarian at the Kinderhook Memorial Library. And Kerri Carpenter is the cataloging specialist at the Mid-Hudson Library System here in beautiful New York State. And so today we're going to talk about this wonderful community, and we're also going to talk about how the Kinderhook Memorial Library worked with the Mid-Hudson Library System to create a collection of decodable books. So before we begin, Mandy, I'm going to start with you and ask you to just tell us a little bit about your library and the community of Kinderhook, New York.
Sure, yeah. So our library is located kind of in the Kinderhook Square. It's a very old library, built there in the 1930s, I believe. In the last 5 years, we've gone through a very, very large renovation where we've more than doubled the size of the original footprint of the building. So we've kind of been like on the up and up since then. Our newsletter hits 6,000 households. We serve, 2,200 children in our area. I might have to revise that number, but I think that's what's coming off the top of my head. We're a very small community, but our patrons are exceptionally proactive for us. It just feels like we don't have to do a lot of work most of the time because we have a very, very supportive base of patrons who are always encouraging us and helping us market programs and fundraising, and just, we really owe a lot to our patrons for allowing us to do really exciting stuff like this. So yeah, we're a very rural agricultural community, 20 minutes from Albany, 2 hours from New York. So we do have a lot of downstate folks that own houses in our area. So we kind of serve like a split, like a two kind of community, like rural and city a little bit. So yeah, that's Kinderhook. It's a very evolving community right now, especially because of COVID. So we're rolling with the punches.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful community. And, I always find it nice because it is a community that I'm somewhat familiar with. And I do have to give a plug in because you have a rail trail, and I'm just an enormous fan of rail trails. And I actually often park in a cornfield in Kinderhook, New York, and I take the rail trail to Hudson, New York and back. So it's a really beautiful, sweet place. And the whole Mid-Hudson area is just gorgeous, and that's the nice thing about this month, is being able to just show off about all these wonderful communities.
For sure.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, now we're not traveling as much, and so now when we start to travel again, maybe we'll have a little library map of all these wonderful libraries and these wonderful communities. There might be a whole other tourism piece that we're starting to evolve into.
Library tour, that'd be great.
Yeah, it would be. So anyway, I'm digressing. To get back to your amazing library, how did you first hear about decodable books? Because this is an interesting story.
Oh yeah, so I mean, I had never heard of them before. But Jen Ose, as you have mentioned, emailed me and my director. It was a very formal email. It was kind of like a proposal that she was giving us, because I know that she had talked to the school before talking to us. With just a lot of information. She gave all the bullet points about what decodable readers are, the Teach My Kid to Read website information. You might be interested in this organization. So I signed us up immediately and got to looking through it. And she had mentioned geodes in her email as like a possibility. Maybe you guys could get this. I hadn't had luck with the schools. could you look into it? So my director, Annalie Dragon, and I kind of did some investigation, and I'll admit at like first investigation, it seemed like an impossibility. I kind of in my head was like, I couldn't see how this could happen, especially with geodes, because it's, you know, prohibitively expensive. So I didn't think much about it after that, but then we were having a quiet season because it was a pandemic. So I kind of got to investigating a little bit more, reading a little bit more, thinking like, oh, I mean, this is really interesting. I've never heard of this before. So I started looking into all the different publishers and seeing, you know, what this whole kind of phonetic learning system was all about. And I don't come from a public library background. I was an academic librarian for 7 years before I came to Kinderhook, and I was only in my position for 6 months before the pandemic happened. So I was, you know, it's been, I've had a lot of time to think and read and reflect upon the issues that are brought forward to me. So I think that the person who brought it to us, combined with the circumstances we were in, kind of gave us a lot of time to think and strategize and learn about decodable readers, because I think that if this had come to us in like a more chaotic season of our kind of life cycle, I don't know what would have happened. But yeah, so Jennifer is really like the person who brought this to light for us, because it had not been on my radar at all. I don't think anyone in our library had really thought about these or known what they were. So yeah, she's a very, very wonderful advocate for providing materials for children with reading difficulties. So we thank her for that a lot.
Yeah, and we're going to be featuring Jen Ose-MacDonald as a separate interview to talk a little bit about the process and in her story, and you know, just she's phenomenal. And so
yeah,
so Jen you know, provided, and I know Jen, and any information that Jen provides is airtight, and she obviously gave you the best information.
Oh yeah.
Which, you know, is just, you know, great. Yeah, she's an amazing advocate. So then what steps did your library take then to start bringing these decodable books to your library?
Sure, yeah. So the first thing that I did was just reach out to geodes and be like, hey, would you sell this to a public library? And they had some follow-up questions like, what do you plan to do with it? This is so interesting. Like, how are you gonna use this collection? So really, I mean, I was like, I'll answer all of that, but I really just want to know like how much it costs. Like, there's a reason they don't put the prices on the website, because there's a little bit of a sticker shock when they tell you how much the, you know, it's sold in 3 steps. There's 3 levels with different modules throughout. So you have to buy each one separately. And I admit that like when Annalie and I were looking over this, we kind of like laughed at first, because we were like, wow, that's a lot of money. But I have to give Annalie a lot of credit, because I come from an academic background where budget is like just at the end of the day, there just is no money for anything. So I kind of gave up very easily, and that has everything to do with my background and nothing to do with our organization. But she's a yes person. So she was like, let's see what we can do. One of our board members is a 3rd grade teacher at the Ichabod Crane School District, which is just down the road from us, the school district that we are a part of. And she wrote a grant for us. We were hoping to get 5,000 and we got 2,000, which like once we broke the barrier of like, we have a little bit of money, it felt more possible then. So even to me, I was like, well, there's still like a huge margin we have to make up. So Annalee reached out to Jennifer and said, here's what we have. How should we proceed? And once again, I never would have thought to send that email to just say like, what can we do now? We have a little bit of money. What can we do now? And I mean, Jennifer just kind of hit the ground running with it. She just, in an amazing feat of fundraising, just made up the difference for us. And it was very incredible. And it happened very quickly. So we ordered it and it arrived on a freight. And that, I think once it like arrived, we had to it was like a massive brick. So we had to put it in front of our fireplace, just in the main room of our library, because there was no other place to put it. It was just this huge thing. And then it was really like, okay, what do we do with this? we have this massive collection of decodable readers, which we still really don't know how to use or what to do with. But once our fundraising and grant writing efforts were taken care of, we just wanted to get it bought as quickly as possible, as kind of like a reward for all the efforts that everyone had put into it. So that's how we came to it. It really was just, we just had to find the money. And like I had mentioned before, our community is like super mobilized in our favor. We have, I don't like to put this too much out. I mean, we have a very supportive patron base. Let me just put it that way. We are an anomaly in libraries in that we have the absolute privilege of being in a pretty wealthy part of Columbia County, and that we try to honor that by providing like everything we possibly can with every dime that we're given. So this is another example of that. And I think that it's really mobilized us to try to like maximize this, because we feel really lucky to have it.
Well, absolutely. And now we're going to cross into Kerri's world. So the books, these massive, the massive decodables arrived, and you ordered some additional ones besides geodes, right? Whole phonics.
Yeah, we got whole phonics. We also ordered the suite of Bob books, but there's other libraries in our system that have those. So there's records available, the whole phonics and the geodes. And I mean, Kerri had helped answer a few questions of like different odds and ends cataloging questions that I had prior to this for things that I just didn't have the expertise for. So when I emailed her and I was like, hey, it's me. We have this huge collection that I'm way in over my head. I don't know how to make this findable. And I think a lot of people don't realize that without cataloging, without an OPAC, without like good cataloging, it might as well be as if that material doesn't exist, because you can't find it. There's no way to find it. It exists in its physical format, but is invisible to literally everyone that you want it to be available to. So yeah, I emailed Kerri and was like, please help me, basically is what I said. So yeah. Yeah, so I don't know what that, yeah.
I love a challenge. So
yeah, so Kerri, talk about then what you do, because this is where we get pushback too, is can you guys pre-catalog these books? And we've had librarians say, oh, we'll get you a freelancer. We're like, wait a minute, we don't publish them, but if what we do, try to make it easier. And I think I told you one of the small publishers we work with is now having them pre-catalog. But I mean, this is an important, this is an issue with these decodable books. It's scary, the cataloging, getting it into your system, even the spine, what do you put on the spine? So talk about your role with these books, Kerri.
Well, in our office, we don't see the physical material. We don't get to touch the physical material. We depend on the libraries to send us as much information as they can. And Mandy sent me links to the websites for geodes and whole phonics, and I was able to see what are these materials, how many are there, what are the titles involved, because it's the, like she said, it came on a pallet. It ended up being, I wrote this down, 15 just geodes, 15 separate records, each consisting of 8 to 16 volumes, and they have multiple volumes. It's so much, and it's up to the libraries to kind of decide, how do they want to circulate it? Where are you keeping it? How are you labeling it? Storage? We don't get involved in that. We manage the public catalog. We need to make sure it's findable by their staff, their librarians, and the public when they're searching the catalog. So it was really important to just kind of communicate with Mandy about these materials and what do you have. As I probably sent how many emails back and forth.
So many emails
over weeks. We started dodoing them one way, like, I think this might work out better a different way. So it ended up being separated into how they thought they should look in their catalog, because they do their own item records. We do one main record where people can search in the catalog. They can search by an author, a title, because there are many titles. They can search by sequence, decodable. They can just put in a keyword like that and they'll find these records. And it was important to put as much information as possible so people can find them in the order they need to find them. They're books that are important to read in sequence to help young readers and people with reading difficulties. I have a young reader at home, so I was kind of invested in making sure that this was, definitely something that our public could find. That's what we do in our office. So I don't know if you have more questions about it, if I'm kind of explaining it well. I'm not a speaker.
Yeah. I'll add on to what Kerri added to, and I think this is important for other librarians that are going to work with their system. I mean, it was like a flurry of emails over the course of like a week or something, back and forth about like, I could pretty much see the changes she was making in Sierra, like real time, just to say like, oh, this looks great. I love it. We had decided to do it by like, I think level first, and then I started entering things in that way. And I was like, well, wait, let's do it by module. And she made that happen.
I have a whole notebook with like 3 pages of record numbers and information. Yeah. So we ended up breaking things down. But the geodes, I'll touch on that one because that one had the most by level, and then individual modules. So one level K, ended up with 4 records. Each record has 8 or 16. So I think the higher level ones have like 16 titles.
They do.
Each one has that many books in there. So finding the information about the titles, the authors, if there were illustrators, people like to look those things up and want to be able to find them. So it's just a matter of, for other libraries who may take this on, put as much information as you can get in that record. Sure. Too much information is never a bad thing. So it's just keeping it organized. We're kind of limited as far as subject headings go, because we use the Library of Congress subject headings, but they're great ones. Reading, phonics, those kind of things. We can search that and you put that in. If I just go in and search and I'm looking for books for my 6-year-old, I can just write, phonetic reading or something like that, and I'll find these, and it'll have so much information. So I don't know how they organize them in their library. I don't envy it. I'm glad I got to work with a website and just typing things into the computer because I have worked in the public library. I have cataloged actual materials. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and to just have all of this in front of you, how am I going to put this out for my patrons? And that's a big thing. We so like Kerri said, the individual libraries all have their own labeling systems, but it's contained under like the same record. So you can see all the libraries and how they've labeled it in their own systems. And since, we're the only ones that have geodes and whole phonics right now. So when you find that, you see the record and you see just Kinderhook with all of our labeling in that. And I went back and forth for a while because geodes has 3 levels, like 4 modules in each level,
4 books in each module. It's like a giant tree, it's a
Yeah.
learning curriculum. So labeling that intuitively in our library to make it findable, to make it like easy for library assistants to reshelve after they've been taken out. That was the biggest struggle. And we actually ended up keeping the geodes. They come in little like folios, cardboard folios. We actually ended up just keeping the books in there and putting them on the shelves like that. And I went through thousands and thousands of spine labels because I labeled every single book. With the spine label, we chose Decodable as our like prefix for it, and ended up putting stickers for level, module, book number on the cover of every single book. So you could just kind of like look and it's bright orange and you see it and you can kind of thumb through it and see which level, which module, and which book you're on. And they come with workbooks too. And I know there's a lot of questions about like, oh, the workbook is really where kind of like the magic is for parents and educators. Like I said, I come from an academic background. So like the idea of like a reserve collection is very normal to me. So we just keep that as like a reference material, like does not circulate. We will make copies of the chapters that people want, but we do display the workbooks. And I've seen a number of parents kind of thumbing through them to see what it's all about. And I think it's important to have them available to look through next to the materials so that parents can kind of just decide for themselves as if this is something that they want to use. And I think it's important also that like, I don't have children, so I don't know what I would be looking for as a parent of a young reader in a catalog. So I think it's important to have that perspective as well. I don't know a lot about literacy education or things like that. So I think it's important also to have that like perspective. Like, what are parents going to be searching for?
I think as a cataloger, it's the first step is always put yourself in the patron's shoes, in the staff's shoes. How are they searching that catalog? What might they be looking for? And will this get them there? So we always start there. We use the system and we put in a lot of information. But I personally, and I'm sure the rest of the cataloging team does this as well, think about what's something it has to be concise. Because it has to fit on a page, and you don't want a billion words for people to read through to find what they want, but it also has to have all the information that they might be looking for. And using keyword searching will get them there, because we put in all those little buzzwords, decodable, or even you put it in your call number, this is decodable, it'll come up. Even if they search a title, I don't remember any of the titles, but something simpler. I remember whole phonics, I think it's like Zach's cap. If they just search Zach's cap, it's going to come up with that whole record. And they'll get to your library and they'll see, wow, they have this whole collection. It'll lead them to the rest of it. And that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, already you're doing such an amazing, what you're offering now, I'll answer now as a parent from this world. Part of the reason that we started working with libraries is, it just over the years, when for those of us who had kids that struggled to read, eventually when they got the right reading instruction, they would practice with connected text or ideally decodable books. And often all over the world, we'll go to the library, do you carry decodable books? And librarians wouldn't know what we mean. To be able to have a parent say, hey, my kid in school, that they're working with the reading specialist or their teacher, and they're having some challenges learning to read. This is the curriculum. This is the curriculum. This is the scope and sequence of the program they're using. And do you have any of those books? The fact that you can say yes, and here's the workbooks that will have the scope and sequence if you're not aware, or go ask the reading teacher or the general ed, whoever is working with your child. So already, you're providing a great service. And for early readers, I like to go into bookstores and libraries sometimes, because I spent so much time when my daughter was young and when I was realizing, that things were just hard, that reading was harder for her. And I look in the early literacy section, and now I'm able to go to that section wearing the wearing more of a literacy hat, because I've been in this world, and I look at some of these books, and whether they're predictable texts that are just telling stories with pictures, which has a purpose. But if your child is really, you're working on the instructional component, you want them to learn to read, or you look at these books and they are considered early readers, but most of the words the kids just can't pronounce. And, for me, that was where I was always stuck, because I just wanted to find something that my daughter could read. And, even now that you're starting to offer these decodables to the community, and Whole Phonics is just great. We work so closely with that author. She comes through this area a lot. I'm sure she would be thrilled to stop in and do a programming, or just be there for parents. But, some of the books are even, we're, as an organization, we were working really closely with, a lot of people know it as the IC-SAM, the beginning reading instruction books. And the reason that we got behind those is because you can access the files online for free, but also with the books themselves, parents can work with their kids. The program itself, it starts with, say the sound, read the word. So even though it starts very, very early, it goes all the way through to beginning reading instruction, advanced reading instruction. So there's, parents are able to just, anybody who wants to read with the kid can use them. But to get back to your collection and talking about buzzwords, or parents walking in, I mean, I think it's such a service to have these books, because most of us aren't taught, even though you look back and it seems so intuitive to start at the very beginning with the most basic, consonant sounds and consonant sounds. Most of the books are not set up that way. And once you realize that these tools are available, or it really is a great service that you could offer to the community. And, there's lots of ways you can learn, or we can certainly help you to provide outreach, or to, help parents learn how to use these books more. And there's more of a homeschool community now too. And especially, I think in in your area, I'm sure you have a large homeschool community like here. So, I mean, I can't say enough about the service that you are offering the families that you're helping, that are going to go into your library and have answers, have recommendations, or to be able to know that your system is able to, that within your system, you can search these books and you are going to be able to make some recommendations or lead them in the right direction, is really just so wonderful. And so with that, tell us about the community, about the reaction. What's the reaction been?
Sure. Yeah. So we didn't make any large announcements. It took me a couple, I want to say weeks, but it was over a month to get everything entered in after the records were created. And that was just like, I mean, it wasn't difficult. It was just like for hours a day. But once everything was like set up and ready and it was displayed, we have a giant sign that just says, "What are decodable books?" right next to the, like, when you first round the corner to where they are, there's just a giant sign that says, "What are decodable books?" And we kind of did that on purpose to be eye-catching. It's like, this is a, I don't want to say special collection, but it is kind of a special collection for us. And way more people than I thought, just from wandering in and like looking for other children's books, have asked questions about it, have checked books out. We had people like Annalie, our director, went to one of the school board meetings in July and made a big announcement about it. We have this big collection, and there was actually a reporter there whose brother had reading difficulties growing up. So she had a very personal connection to kind of other ways to learn how to read, and called Annalie and did an interview with her about the collection, and it was in our local newspaper. We had other people who heard word of mouth who wanted to make donations to the collection. So this is wonderful for us because we can make it sustainable. We can add to it every year now, instead of just having this one big lump sum at the beginning. and the like people who don't even have kids in the school system anymore, people who have grown children who have moved on. So the feedback has been really great. We still haven't made any huge announcements. Now that the school year is kind of cooking, I think our hope is that we would love to get the school more involved, I would say. We do have a board member who's a teacher in the school. And we think that there's kind of endless possibilities there for collaborations between us and the school. But even outside of our area, as Kerri said, we are a system of 66 libraries, and we, I think, are like at the northernmost tip of the system. We have Columbia County, parts of Dutchess, parts of Ulster County. It's a very wide stretching system with lots of different communities. I mean, we're more rural, but you get down to Poughkeepsie, you get more urban, you've got parts of Ulster County as well. So, I mean, we are prepared to lend these collections through our interlibrary loan system. We decided, yes, that these would be shareable resources. We got 6 copies of each book. So we've entered in 2 copies of each book to start. So we have like 4 backups in case, it gets more popular, or, God forbid we lose one, which will happen because it is a public library, let's be honest. So, and again, to bring it back to Jen, she's been, our loudest and most helpful advocate for this collection too. She's really spread the word. She's a really good educator. She's educated me on a lot of things, our library on so many things. So I think that she's really been, outside of, us kind of going out in the community and saying, this is what we have. I think she's been like our next most important, if not the most important advocate for this collection. I think our next job is to we've had a couple of other libraries from our system reach out to us and ask questions too. We've had like Beekman has reached out and said like, hey, what's up with this? Like, we're interested. So I think that having other libraries from the system ask questions about it has been super validating as well, because we can answer these questions now because we've done it. So, and like the records exist in the catalog now. So that hurdle might be one less barrier that they'd have to go through to get it, because those records already exist. So yeah, like we haven't done a ton of marketing or outreach yet, but starting in late September, I'm going to be in the schools every week, once a week, every week. So I'll have more opportunity to be in the school, to be kind of spreading material and information around. So right now we're kind of just at word of mouth. But when I say word of mouth, I mean like we've been in the local paper, we've been at the school board meetings, yeah, it's getting around, but we're also a very small library and a small team. So we want to make sure that like things are sustainable for us too. And so far it is. So yeah, we're really pleased with the feedback that we've gotten, and the fact that families have just wandered in and checked books out, and we're like, I don't know who you are, but I'm glad that you're here. So, we're a small community, so we see the same faces over and over again. So it's nice to see new faces that we don't know who are coming in to check stuff out. So yeah, it's been really good.
Yeah, that's just amazing. So what more would you like to do to help families of early and striving readers?
Yeah, I think our next plan is that, so we had put aside a whole suite of copies of the geodes, and with the thought that we would have like a learning library in the library where tutors could come. And I think we've actually had some reading tutors reach out and say like, could we do tutoring there? And we would love that so much, if we could be like a learning, like a hub for that sort of thing. Like you can tutor here. We do have some tutors kind of come in and out, but we would like to develop this learning, non-circulating learning library, or maybe circulating. I don't know. There's a lot of complexities with both. Learning library kind of with geodes at the forefront of that because it's the biggest collection that literacy reading instructors, other literacy professionals could use, because we have it and we would love for it to get used. So, I mean, for us, next step for us is definitely getting more involved with, you know, the Road to Decode, Teach My Kid to Read, things like that. We haven't had any workshops or any presentations. We kind of like put the horse before the cart, or put the cart before the horse by buying it and then saying like, we'll figure it out, which I think is kind of how we've had some of our biggest successes, is just kind of like kick the door open and then ask questions later. So yeah, we are all looking forward to getting some more training, some more expertise, not necessarily expertise, but just the ability to kind of steer parents in the right direction, to kind of give them more information, because we can kind of generally tell them what decodables are used for. But like you said, we have more homeschooling happening now than ever before. So a lot of parents are doing this for the very first time, and we would love to be able to support them with that. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And I know it is funny that, you know, you're the library world, the publishing world. I mean, you know, resources are, you know, resources and content, they're integral. And of course you need to know, you know, where everything fits and how to use them. But, you know, you took this amazing step, and I wish I would have driven from Albany to the Kinderhook Library if I knew you had decodables early on, and we would have been making a lot of noise about it. Those of us who either had to buy them ourselves, or sometimes people even have to buy them and donate them to classrooms. And you know, we see libraries carrying decodables as an issue of equitable access. So you're doing so much. And finally, are there any other comments either of you have about this topic, or your library system, this area?
I guess I'm just, it's very eye-opening for me, because I didn't realize like how much of a demand there was for this sort of material, just from people coming in and letting us know, like, we're so happy that you have this. I wish that I had this growing up learning to read. I think that it's also important to like tell people that like, this is for everyone. Like, everyone has to learn how to read at some point, and it's not just for folks who are having difficulties in like the more traditional mainstream ways. It's for everyone. So I think that this is like a really fresh new learning experience for me as well. I just didn't realize the scope of it, and as I am, it's just becoming more and more amazing to meet all these new people who are advocating for these collections. I think we're just really happy and thankful that we can do this, and we can share it. We hope to share it with as many people as possible. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, wonderful. Well, I can't thank you both enough for sharing this information, and I'm so excited that we're located 20 minutes from your library, even though we're in a different library system. And I can't wait to come and see the collection. And you're really pioneers for this. And I hope you get worldwide attention for this initiative, because it may seem like logic or just some steps you took, but really, I firmly believe you are going to be helping so many families, and you are opening up something that everybody needs. All kids need to be able to have access to wonderful literature, but all kids on the other side need to be taught how to learn to read. And you are understanding that and providing everything that children need to become skilled readers and ideally even the bonus, love reading. So thank you both for such amazing work and sharing your knowledge.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Thank you for having us. Yeah. Yeah. I can't thank Kerri enough for her help. Cause again, like if it's not findable, it doesn't exist. So
Yes.
yeah. So
Yeah,
thank you so much.
it sounded like you had a lot of speed bumps, but you worked through them. And I think that's a great thing. Other people are going to see this and see, we can get over these speed bumps, and cataloging shouldn't be one of them. We're here to support all the initiatives of our libraries, and we love to do it. And, I hope people can work with their systems and getting these things accessible to their patrons.
Me too. So thank you both. I'm going to stop the recording.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.